Wait a second. Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG, represents a significant shift in LLM applications, enabling these models to dynamically access and utilize updated external data. Now, this method not only keeps AI's responses current, but also tailors them to specific business context. If you want to learn more about RAG and AI, join Veritas expert Varun Grover.
Retrieving external data is a game changer. Hey YouTube, I'm Rochelle Diengson, and today we're discussing Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG, with Veritas AI expert Varun Grover. Varun, thank you for being here today.
Glad to be here, Rochelle.
Let's talk LLM limitations and why a RAG framework is so important.
So RAG is incredibly important when it comes to enterprise use cases. And one of the biggest reasons for that is there's something known as the knowledge cutoff date for large language models. So what that really means is when a model is initially trained, it's trained using data up till a certain end date. And then it doesn't have all the context of whatever happens after that date. So if anybody had played around with ChatGPT when it first came out, you might have run into the error message that it didn't have the context beyond a certain date in 2021 or 2022, because that was the knowledge cutoff date for that large language model. So what that means is then it's limited in the quality of the responses it can offer you because it doesn't have the data from after that date. In addition to that, there's also challenges around what the initial training data set was for the large language model. So typically that tends to be really broad, a corpus of the internet, for instance. And when you're talking about enterprise use cases, you need specificity. You need domain-specific data. You need enterprise-specific data. And so that's where RAG, or the concept of Retrieval Augmented Generation, really comes in and is critically important.
So what are some other benefits of RAG?
Before even going into that, let me talk about how RAG actually works. And so let's think through the two components. You have retrieval and you have generation. So information retrieval largely refers to being able to talk to your enterprise data or being able to talk to the internet in real time. So you're able to retrieve a set of information that is relevant to the prompt or the question that has been asked. And then the generation component is very similar to what the large language model was already doing, but now it has the added context that it has received by means of that retrieval. And so what that does is it gives the LLM the ability to leverage real-time information, to be able to leverage the specific information that's in your enterprise data, to be able to provide a much more high-quality response that is relevant to your use case, because it is no longer limited by the knowledge cutoff. It is no longer limited by not having access to enterprise data. It's also a really efficient way of doing it because you don't need to go in and train it again or fine-tune it again on that enterprise data, and you have a cost-efficient way of literally plugging in your large language model to your enterprise data in a way that it can go in and search for what it needs and then use that to find the answer to the question. Much like human beings do it as well, right? If you don't have the answer, you're going to look it up. Here's your model doing that for you.
So now that we have a solid foundation of how RAG works, what are some other advantages?
I would say the biggest advantage is you're able to then pull insights from your data, and you're able to then make decisions based off of that. So depending on what your use case is, you can think about like enterprise search, for instance. There's a ton of opportunity because there's just a ton of data that lives within specific enterprises. And so we're just starting to see the beginnings of what RAG can accomplish because there's a lot of new innovations happening in this space. And I'm really excited to see what comes next.
Me too. Well, Varun, thank you so much for joining me. And if you found this conversation helpful, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more content on cybersecurity and AI.